Welcome to Automotive Insiders. I'm your host, Jason Stein, and welcome to a podcast that takes you inside the conversations that are shaping the future of the industry. In today's episode, we're focusing on one of the most critical topics facing the industry right now: the importance of growing and strengthening the automotive supply base. With electrification, global trade shifts, and an increased push toward reshoring, suppliers are navigating an entirely new landscape. At the same time, OEMs are rethinking their networks, building relationships that are more collaborative, more resilient, and more innovative than ever before. To help us understand this conversation a little more, we're joined by two guests today: Collin, president of MEMA Original Equipment Suppliers, and Steve Horaney, senior vice president. They're leading efforts to help the industry connect, collaborate, and grow. And that'll take place in Detroit on November 19th and 20th at the annual conference. Today, we're going to talk about the challenges facing suppliers and the opportunities that have emerged, and a new event that's designed to connect every tier of the industry. It will be part of the 2025 annual conference. It's Collin and Steve coming up on Automotive Insiders. Well, Collin, it's great to have you on the program. Welcome in.
Thanks, Jason. Appreciate it.
Yeah, great to have you back again. And Steve, what a pleasure to be back with you again.
Thank you, Jason. Welcome.
Well, we'll start off the program, and our theme here is the importance of really growing the supply base. And Collin, question to you.
Yeah.
Why is supplier growth and inclusion so critical right now? I know you're living in a very interesting world, could be a chaotic world if you want, but in many ways, supplier growth, I know, is at the heart of what you're thinking about. Why is it so important?
Yeah, and so it's no secret things are really chaotic right now, and a lot of what we see in the market happening is with a strong desire to reshore. I mean, we've got things like tariffs, an increased focus from the federal government on manufacturing. There's a real need and focus on supplier growth and kind of reshoring some of those tier 2 and tier 3 capabilities that at one point existed very strongly in the United States. As we have globalized, some of those processes or supply chains have gone global. Some of them don't exist as much in the US. So with a strong focus back on reshoring, back on bringing things here, it's vitally important that the industry looks at those and says, okay, how do I grow those? Where can I grow those? What are the suppliers out there? Oftentimes I find there are supply chains out there. Just some of them are not known, especially the tier 2 and tier 3. So it's really important that we help tier 1s and OEMs understand everything out there. With the growing reliance on supply chain resilience, we hear that topic all the time. Well, what does that mean? Well, it means understanding who is in your supply chain. What backup plans do you have? Who are you trying to grow? What are some strategic areas? It's really important that we help tier 1s, OEMs, really understand the entire landscape out there of what's in the supply chain. So that's why it's so important right now as the Automotive Trade Association for us to help everybody in the supply chain, OEMs, tier 1s, tier 2s, and tier 3s, connect better and understand what's available out there.
Well, you mentioned OEMs. So Steve, I'll go to you. How are OEMs approaching supplier acceleration and support?
Well, Jason, with all the change going on in the supply base, I think first the supplier or the OEMs are trying to really map out and identify their supply chains all the way down to minerals. So there's a big effort right now on supply chain mapping to help identify and expose where they could potentially be at risk with some of the changes. But I think they're starting to take that and starting to make some changes to help mitigate some of the risks, help mitigate some of the tariff exposure. And with that, I think it's starting to pose some opportunities. If nothing changes, then there isn't opportunities. But I think some of the chaos and the issues that we're facing as an industry is starting to open up opportunities for some people. And opportunities is really what a lot of our members are looking for to find new opportunities to do business and new customers.
Yeah, new customers, Steve, new suppliers, innovative technologies. But I think probably most importantly, building those collaborative relationships, right?
Absolutely. I think it all starts with just a trust in a relationship and who you want to be doing business with. It's a basic building block.
Collin, the biggest challenges that suppliers are facing right now when they think or the consideration is around growth?
Yeah. One of those, especially at the tier 2 and tier 3 level, is just connecting with your peers, getting connected within the market, understanding who's out there. So just making those face-to-face, peer-to-peer connections, that's one of them. There are barriers to entry. When I look at the market in becoming an automotive supplier, it can be very different than other markets. If a company is supplying other markets such as aerospace, off-highway, even commercial vehicle, in the automotive market, the requirements are pretty stringent, uh, highly a high demand, high pace. And so helping companies understand what it takes to compete in the automotive world, if they're not from the automotive world, is really important for us to help them do. And then as they go into that, what are the OEM requirements and processes? Every manufacturer has different requirements, different processes. And so bringing suppliers together in spaces, whether it be our councils or our annual conference, they get a little more exposure to this every time. They get to meet some of the OEMs, they get to meet some of their peers, they get to meet some of the large tier ones. And so they get exposure to this. And that helps to demystify some of these processes like digitalization, sustainability, advanced manufacturing. These are all things that I think some of the smaller and medium-sized suppliers question, how do I create the resources around digitalization? How do I invest in automation? How do I tackle sustainability? And I think what you find in connecting groups, which is one of the things we do, is it demystifies that and you start to say, okay, well, if I start just here at a base level, I can get this done and then I can move on to the next one. So it really helps to bring people together and understand how you can start tackling things in this automotive environment if you're trying to build that and grow.
Steve, the supplier business connection, why does it matter?
Well, I'll tell you, our supplier business connection is new to us this year. It's going to be the second day of our annual conference, which will be November 19th and 20th. The 19th will be our traditional heavy content annual conference. And the 20th is now what we're calling our supplier business connection. We've actually had a lot of feedback from our supplier members over the years, a basic desire to connect and do business amongst each other, but also working with each of the OEMs. We've partnered with General Motors, Ford, Honda, Nissan, Volkswagen, Scout, and Volvo Truck this year to help put together and do this supplier business connection. Each of them has interest in connecting with small, indirect, and direct suppliers. It's been difficult for them to have a lot of these events themselves, and to do them individually is not necessarily efficient for the supply base. So by bringing this supplier business connection together this year, we've got a commitment from these OEMs to send a large number of their purchasing and engineering team members. The suppliers are already starting to sign up, register in really good numbers. We're real excited about it. And it'll be kind of a good old-fashioned trade show where it doesn't exist right now anywhere in Metro Detroit or really in the industry, to connect amongst the different tiers of suppliers and have the OEMs there present to connect with everybody. So um, I'm real excited about it, and it's really starting to shape up like it's going to be a great event.
Yeah, November 20th, again, a critical date for suppliers who want to accelerate into those OEM programs. Question
Jason,
for
if
both.
I can just
Yes,
add,
please.
as Steve and myself and my team sat down to think about this, as a trade association, I think we have a unique responsibility to offer these kind of solutions and do it very cost effectively for our members. And that's one thing we pride ourselves on is our goal is to facilitate business. Our goal is to make sure we can do it cost effectively for our members. And with a program like this, where we have a long-term commitment to it, it's important that people understand that the desire for this is to help consolidate things and to make sure it's easy for people to make connections, to get business done, and to do it in a very cost-effective way for our members without, traveling all over the country and things like that. We'll do something like this here at the epicenter of automotive.
Absolutely. Collin, stay with you for one sec. Your advice for suppliers who want to position themselves for success.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to be proactive. You have to seek collaboration. When I think about what you've got to do to be successful right now, you need to understand your customers. And that goes more than just the OEMs. You need to really understand the end customer, because the products that we make, they go to touch consumers. And the products that we put in vehicles, we have to do a better job as a supply base, understanding what the end consumer wants. We've got to learn lessons from other countries. We hear a lot about China and what kind of speed they have. Well, you've got to partner with people and understand how other companies are attacking the market. Are they using AI? Are they using automation? How are they doing it? Can I partner with somebody to help me accomplish this? So you've really got to understand that landscape. And then you've got to also partner with your supplier or OEM customers. You need to understand their long-range plan so you can make capital investments. And that same thing goes back to OEMs and large tier ones. You got to partner with your suppliers, because when you do that, you get better responses, you get a better view of the market and an ability to make those long-term investments. So those are really some of the things that we have been talking about as an association for how suppliers can put themselves in the best position.
Steve, final thoughts from you about the same question.
Well, I'll tell you, Jason, I'm just going to encourage everybody to participate in our Supplier Business Connection. I think it's important to bring both your purchasing people and your sales people. The OEMs are going to be there. Other suppliers are going to be there. And I think it's really going to present opportunities to really to connect, to sell to other suppliers, maybe to some of the OEMs, and maybe to find some good sources that you maybe haven't identified previously. So, I think this fits really good with what we're trying to do as an association to advance the business interests of the supply base. And, I think mark of success at the end of the program will be that suppliers are able to connect, find some new opportunities, and do some business.
The MEMA Original Equipment Suppliers Annual Conference 2025, November 19th and 20th in Novi, Michigan. I think the homepage for registration says it well. 2 days, one mission, supplier success. Steve and Collin, thank you so much for joining me on the program, and we'll see you at the annual conference.
Thanks, Jason.
Look forward to it, Jason.
Thank you. Thanks again to my guests, Collin and Steve from MEMA Original Equipment Suppliers. Thanks for listening to the podcast on this platform. Come back to us again for more interviews with industry leaders. I'm your host, Jason Stein. We'll see you again next time.